This is a Film Stories original podcast.
We made this.
Welcome to the Starlight Ballroom. Hey!
Hello everyone and welcome to Shipwrecked and Comatose, the Red Dwarf podcast here on the We Made This podcast network. My name is Kurt North and I am going to be your host for the next 3 weeks, in which we are having a very special event. As we welcome in the Dave era, we are going to be watching going to talk about the next 3 parts of a special episode called Back to Earth. Joining me is everyone. Say hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. We've got everyone here. As I see on my screen, we've got Matt Latham. Matt, hi.
Hello.
We've got Carl. Hello, Carl.
Hello.
We've got Colin. What's up, man? What's up? And my co-host and partner in crime, Mr. Mark Adams.
Evening. It's nice to have everyone here.
It is. The edit's going to be horrific, but,
I'm not doing it, so it doesn't matter. It's you.
If anyone had any conspiracy theories that basically me, Carl, and Colin were just the same person, we just 3 different voices, I'll put you that Hob Boldness is the proof that I can't do character voices.
Whatever happened to Hob Boldness?
We can't say yet. What's happened?
Because we don't fucking know.
He's not returning my calls for some reason.
I don't know. Yeah, he's just vanished off the face of the earth. Just don't know where he is.
Yeah.
Maybe we can start a show on a new channel and of Finding Hob, called Finding Hob.
No.
Maybe we should start a channel, a TV channel called Hob.
No. Stop all of this.
Yeah, but Mark, we need to know is that Hob, he might be disgusting, but he's incredibly, incredibly annoying. We can't help but just love him.
Well, we are here to talk about Back to Earth. I mentioned there, this is the first of the Dave era. Should we just very quickly reflect on the BBC stuff and how, we've got 100 plus episodes, Mark, haven't we? So, we're going into a brand new era, and this is why we decided to do it as the 5 of us.
Yeah.
Share the pain.
It's an odd one, isn't it? Because there's the 3 of you, Kurt, Matt, and Carl, that have seen the Dave stuff. And then there's Colin and me who have, I believe you're exactly the same as me, right? You'd already seen Back to Earth, but nothing else subsequent.
Yes. I got put off by these 3 episodes we're talking about this time.
Can I just say here, right now and right here, that if it wasn't for this episode, we wouldn't have this podcast to start off. So, we wouldn't have had Red Dwarf 10 and onwards. So I think despite of its, we'll talk about the episodes as we go through it. We'll talk about the whole collection of it and how it came about. And we'll talk about various different things. But it is pivotal to Red Dwarf's history. And I think that it does have a place in Red Dwarf lore, doesn't it, really? Because obviously, as I say, we wouldn't get this far had it not been for these 3 episodes.
Actually watching this again, and I think it's the second time I've watched it since it went out, I do actually find bits in this that I like, which surprised me, actually, especially in the kind of in the way it looks. For some reason, that watching it back now, the way it looks is much better than I remember it the first time around. And that's been a quite pleasant surprise.
Good, though, is it?
There are some positive things to be said.
I would agree. I think there's definitely positivities. Whether or not for me personally, if I'm going to put my cards on the table, it might not be this episode, but it might come later. But we will see. We'll see as Matt starts sort of gesture towards us because he's going to be the defender. He's always got to be the outlier, does Matt? Doesn't he? Always has to be the outlier.
Contrary bastard.
It's called content.
Everything is content these days, darling.
Everything is content. Everything is cool when you're part of a team.
Lego's great. Maybe we should have a podcast about Lego.
Stop it. You've got a problem.
I know. I've got the least podcasts out of everyone on this podcast other than Carl.
I was going to say, yeah.
This is the eye of the storm. You'll be back.
Me and Colin were recording last night till 11 o'clock, and I was editing till 2 in the morning to have it to add another episode out 6 hours later. It was,
you know, Matt and I did a pick a disc earlier today, right? And we're doing 3 episodes in one go tonight. We're fucking ridiculous, the lot of us.
Yeah.
Hey, do you remember that iTunes review that says we don't talk about other podcasts enough?
No, because I don't read the iTunes reviews because they make me cross. You've sworn again, fuck off.
It's all right, we're too lost on the Yellow Jackets podcast.
Fuck, cunt, shit ass Barbara Streisand. I did the worst swear.
Barbara Streisand.
You invoked the name.
Right, let's dive straight in. So what we're saying, everyone here has seen these 3 episodes at the time of airing, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What are your, obviously we've seen them before. Does anyone have any inkling about, before you watched them recently, what memories you had of it? And anything that stood out to you? Was there any particular moments? Anything that before watching it recently? So I'll start with Colin on that one first, I think.
The bit that I liked the best was the bit that I remembered liking the best. That's still the same. Right. But we'll get to that in tomorrow's episode, I believe. The bits that I liked the least, I also like the least.
Well, that's boring as fuck, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not really that much has changed. But now I have the knowledge that the stuff that came after it, that I didn't bother watching after this, some people whose opinions I sort of vaguely trust say it's quite good. So I'm looking forward to what comes afterwards.
Carl?
I think now watching it again after the first time, because the first time it was that thing of I really wanted it to be good. Like I really wanted it. And after I watched, I believe the first one, it was that giving it the college try of like doing it. It's like, yeah, Red Dwarf is back. I couldn't convince myself that it was great, which is what I really, 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 really wanted. And I think what everybody really, really wanted. And watching it back now, again, there's bits that are better now, given the hindsight of everything. And like Colin, the bits that I don't like, which aren't necessarily bits, but threads going through the whole thing, I still really dislike. But I have lightened up on more of the aesthetic things in this, I think, is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
So it's better than I thought the first time, but it's still not great.
Matt?
The first time I remember watching it, I remember not really thinking of it much. There's one bit in particular I remember barely laughing out quite a lot at. But that's like one moment, but that's...
It's not the Munchkins, is it?
It's not.
Because the Munchkins was mine. So that is the one thing I do remember belly laughing out. So
no, I think I'll save it for when we get to it in the actual thing. But and I got it on Blu-ray years ago. I watched it then, and I was like, still kind of. It's one of those. It's the bits that I'll watch just to complete as a completionist. So even like some perhaps episodes of the earlier series that I'm not a fan of, I'll still watch. I'll still watch the Pete 2-parter. To get through that. But then I think I ended up, and I can't remember if I watched it since, but then I think I watched it in the 3 parts that were aired yesterday, but then I also watched the director's cut that I got on Blu-ray.
Yeah. So you say you are, you fuckers.
Are we not doing the director's cut?
Yeah.
Wait, we're not doing the director's cut?
Yeah.
Shit.
Honestly, behind the scenes, every single week for the past 6 weeks, we've been saying we're doing the 3 episodes, and people just keep coming back and saying, "I've watched the director's cut." Why? Why have you done that to yourself?
All four of us watched the director's cut. The only person who didn't watch the director's cut was you, and you dug your heels in and refused to fucking watch it.
Well, I ended up watching both anyway,
yeah.
and whether it's on a Stockholm syndrome or not, I'm particularly on that last one. I started to perhaps, and this is an indictment of it being like massively layered and like hidden, revealing depths or anything. I'm starting to have a better appreciation of what it was trying to do, and there are things that I've started to notice that it felt like it could have done better. There are massive threads and creative decisions that annoy the bugger out of me. Well, the game will get to that.
Yep.
And I still think it's perhaps one of the weaker parts of Red Dwarf. I've only seen 11 and 12 once, so I can't remember much of them.
Yeah.
So I can't really, but at the moment, back to it, it's still kind of the weakest series / chapter of Red Dwarf history, I think.
Yeah.
As a whole, but it's better than Crikey TV.
A kick in the balls is better than Crikey TV.
Yeah.
I just can't watch it and enjoy it.
That is not an invitation to have a special where we all commentate on ourselves getting kicks in the balls, Mark.
No,
You
no,
just
no.
not even think of.
We all kick Mark in the balls.
Let's not have
Yes.
that. I quite like my balls unpained.
I'm glad you put unpained at the end there.
Suck on my chocolate salty balls. Put in your mouth and suck them.
No.
baby.
What is going on?
There's the merch for the podcast. Is a big T-shirt with Mark, big smiley face, big thumbs up, and just the quote, Mark Adams, I like my balls.
And on the back, unpained.
Unpained.
Yeah. And make a DVD box of it with 5 stars.
Yeah.
It's a good job that we don't do sound bites on this podcast, because you lot would rag me rotten with some of the bullshit I say.
I'm amazed you agreed to be on here with all 4 of us, Mark, to be honest.
Mark, what about you?
So I watched it once at the time, and I remember being bitterly disappointed, and I didn't find it very funny. And I remember the concept was that they came out of their reality into our reality. And even at the time, I thought that was painfully overdone, and it had been done better by the League of Gentlemen. But subsequently, I haven't seen it since until I watched the director's cut and then watched the 3 parts. Yeah. And my only memory was that it was a characters meet, their real life counterparts story, and it wasn't funny. I think I've changed my mind a little bit. It's still not great. And I went into it because we had built it up to be the absolute drizzling shits. We've done it over Series 8 and even before that, talking about Back to Earth, how it is considered to be utterly wretched. And as I'd only seen it once, I didn't remember it other than the basic concept. And I went into it expecting it to be just unwatchable shit. And it's not. It's okay. It's kind of fun. It's kind of cute. And I'm glad it exists because I've now got 18 episodes of Red Dwarf to watch ahead of me, which is great. And I also hadn't seen Blade Runner.
What?
So I have now, and that's the point. I hadn't seen Blade Runner when I saw Back to Earth.
Right.
So I've got a whole new aspect that I didn't understand or get at the time that did make it a little bit more interesting for me. So I was genuinely pleasantly surprised by Back to Earth. And I would genuinely, out of the 9 series we've watched, put this above Series 8.
Okay. Yeah. I'd definitely put it above bits of Series 8.
Did you find as well with this, with watching it again, that a big redeeming factor for you, because this is what was for me, was Craig Charles's performance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
He's going for it in this, isn't he? He's showing like he can act.
He's showing his range, darling.
Yeah, he is, darling.
You can tell he's been on a soap. You can tell he's been on a soap for a while.
Yeah.
Craig Charles as Craig Charles was actually really fucking tragic. And that gag about the Priory.
Going back to the Priory, yeah.
Fuck. Okay, that's self-awareness that's actually, whilst it wasn't funny, unfortunately, it was very, very, very raw because it wasn't that long after he'd been in rehab, really. So, yeah, I thought that was really quite a deep cut. And the whole concept was you meet the actors that play you. And I thought that was actually really, really good.
Yeah.
The question I've got for those, well, Kurt can't answer this. For the director's cut and the separate episodes, what did you find worked better?
The director's cut.
Yeah, the director's cut.
I imagine it would, but I've not seen the director's cut because the director's cut that we had in the drive
Yeah, it wasn't the right one.
was just the 3 episodes stuck together with the credits in between as one file without any of the bits missing.
So that I don't know how that was put together on Handbrake, because I did it on Handbrake and I don't know why that did that. But
I don't know if there's really that much any difference apart from the fact that it's just cutting it, edited it out, because I watched the director's cut first.
Me too.
Because I was watching on my PS4, I kept flashing up the timer. The appearance of going to Earth happens around a third of the time in. So I was like, okay, that's natural break stuff. And I was quite surprised when certain the way the episodes kind of segmented out. And I was like, and I think that might be because it was like a week before I'd watched it seamlessly. It's kind of jarring after that.
Well, I mean, this goes to the nature of what we're going to talk about with the 3 episodes, because part of, there's moments in this. I know we're jumping the gun a little bit, where there's like a little meta commentary which is throughout this episode. Which I know that me and Matt are particularly fond of meta commentary anyway. But where they say like they start talking about 3 parts, and I'm like, are you having a go at Series 8? Are you having a go at this episode? Because you've had to force to have it being split up into 3. Because I know that they were saying about like the atolls are something between 1 and 2. I think it's the bunk scene I was talking to you all about before on Messenger. Because it was in late, the way it was edited together was there wasn't a natural cut-off point to end the episode. So they had to readjust it slightly to make it 3 parts, and I think that's what does the damage in a lot of ways.
It was initially supposed to be a 2-parter.
Yeah.
They'd been contracted to do 3 shows, but the 3rd one was going to be Red Dwarf Unplugged, where it was going to be the cast doing various sort of sketches and that kind of thing from. So, they'd do like the Betty and Wilma bit or the dog's milk bit or something like that. But they decided that wasn't actually going to work. But it's interesting. Mark mentioned that League of Gentlemen had already done a similar thing with the characters coming into the world of the authors. That really reminded me of League of Gentlemen live on their live Drury Lane DVD.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's got a bit at the start where they're just in suits doing some of the sketches. Unplugged in the same way. So that sounds like they got 2 bits that were influenced by League of Gentlemen from a few years before.
In the hindsight of this, and I would, for the people listening, I was speaking to Mark about this earlier. One of the things I find quite interesting in this, looking back, is that watching this in a post-Promised Land world, and I'm not going to spoil any.
Good.
I'm not going to spoil any like plot or character moments, but
oh my god, I've just left Yellow Jackets podcast with Future Matt. I've just realised I've got Future Matt again. I thought I got away with it.
This is in a post-Promised Land world, so what we'll probably seeing is like the first real attempt at what possibly could be the future for the rest of the Red Dwarf franchise with this current cast, where they probably won't have time to do a full 6-episode series. They'll probably just have to do kind of like one-off,
80, 90-minute specials. And stuff, yeah.
But what I find quite interesting in this is that in the comparison of that one, well, there's a live studio audience in Promised Land, but Promised Land also has kind of threads and kind of like separate character, like multi-layered character subplots through it, to the point where it feels like Promised Land, they condensed ideas for 13 into
90 minutes.
the story, whereas this has kind of one kind of cohesive story, but then kind of doesn't have some of the subplots it gives to other characters in this. So, like for the most part, Robert Llewellyn might as well have just like turned up for one day doing this, and as always, I always said that Danny John-Jules sometimes gets short shrift in terms of development.
Well, they mentioned in a third episode, they said they actually do refer to that. This is what the element of these 3 episodes I really like is those little bits where there's like when they're doing the end, when they're writing the
meta shit.
Yeah. But when they're saying, I think he says something like, "Oh, I could have a sitcom." Rimmer keeps going, "I could have a sitcom." You've got Crichton saying he can have it, Crichton having his spin-off, and then the cat, and then they say, "Shut up, that would never work." They actually like downplay that, and I think it's self-aware in that regard, which I like. Yeah, and that's what I came across on rewatching this, because for me personally, I remember things like the Munchkin. I remember some of the little bits like that, but I do kind of half remember the whole Kachansky thing. I think because of the Shining ending, more so than anything else, really. For those people who might not be aware, that the end of one of the Blade Runners had nicked some footage that was filmed from The Shining.
Yes.
Stanley Kubrick had some footage that he handed over to
Ridley Scott
to actually have that in that scene. So they've kind of used that aspect to it. But so things like that I remember it more that way, actually, the opposite to Mark. I remember it more from a Blade Runner perspective than I actually do like a TV show.
I don't think I'd seen Blade Runner yet the first time I watched it either.
Right.
But obviously have quite a few times since then, so was a lot more familiar with it.
I think if memory serves me right, I hadn't, but I was aware that it was ripping it off, and I watched it before it coming out.
No, I was very much into like massive Blade Runner fan coming into this. Like I had like several copies of it on DVD. I think I pretty much had the ultimate like tin version at this point as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely obsessed with the Westwood video game as well. So
is that a video game starring Tim Westwood? Just going
on the ground.
Drop the bomb.
No, Westwood.
What a bell end.
Westwood Studios. Westwood Studios.
I think he knows that.
Westwood Studios.
I'm
Colin.
aware, really.
Yeah. They Command and Conquer as well.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, are you sure?
I've heard of Command and Conquer. Isn't that the one that like straight boys play?
Isn't that what?
Class game.
What boys?
Bland straight boys.
I thought Command and Conquer was a club in Stretford, Mark.
To be fair, if it was a club in Stretford, I'd totally go to it.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Building, repairing. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
I've never played them.
What are you blithering about?
I've never played them.
Command and Conquer 3 Red Alert.
Oh, I've got to download it and play it again soon.
They remastered it recently.
Probably 25 years.
Yep. Great game, Command and Conquer, for bland white people, which is basically pigeonhole me. How dare you pigeonhole me?
Bland straight white people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
How dare you narrow that pigeonhole down even further, Mark?
I'm
Bland straight white
people
bald
losing
people.
their hair, people.
When you're cracking the same gags, you know you've been doing this a bit too long.
Oh, dear.
But so I was coming to Back to Earth being like an absolute obsessed Blade Runner fan.
I'd seen Blade Runner by this point. I must admit, I am not the world's biggest Blade Runner fan. It is good, but it's not one that I watch over and over again. And I actually found the Blade Runner, I can't even say references, wholesale
Rip-offs.
Yeah, rip-offs. I found it really jarring. I thought I thought it was good, the squid bit. I actually thought Danny John-Jules had a fair bit to do in this. He's more so than he normally does.
Yeah.
Which isn't saying a great deal.
There is a surprising bit that he got to do that we'll get to in a bit soon.
Yeah. But I think the bit where when we get to there's some bits in episode 3, we're like, what is this?
Yeah, I think the first instance of the Blade Runner kind of homage works.
Yeah.
Which is, and it's a kind of good gag, which I think is actually, I think I found funnier on a rewatch, knowing what's going to come. But then eventually, as it starts unfolding, I'm like, oh, for God's sake!
This is the thing. They were like, oh, Blade Runner, such an influence on the show. It's like, I've never heard them say that.
If anything, it'd be Aliens, wouldn't it? If there was any ever reference, it'd be Aliens.
Yeah,
definitely the Nostromo and that kind of thing is an influence on the set design.
Well, they've always talked about Dark Star. Have any of you seen Dark Star?
No.
Which it really is. Once you've watched Dark Star, it's like, yeah, no, that's really.
It's truckers in space, isn't it?
Yeah, it's plumbers in they're very, very workmanlike, and the ship's an absolute crap hole.
Yeah,
that's a massive influence on it. But I've never thought Blade Runner. I can't even remember, and I've watched all the DVDs multiple times, and it's like, no, I think you've pulled that out of the air just to go, well, I ran out of time, so I just thought I'd rip off Blade Runner.
I've just been watching Blade Runner, and I thought, we'll just do this.
It's an influence of Blade Runner of Rob and Doug getting really drunk in the 80s, watching Blade Runner, going, "Do you want to do something sci-fi?" Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's probably it.
Yeah.
Can we get Harrison Ford? No, all right.
God, imagine if they did. Just Harrison Ford on a whim went, you know what, bugger it, I'll play Holly. He'd have been great Holly. Harrison Ford now would be an amazing Holly.
We're talking April, June, July, August.
The grumpiest Holly ever.
Brilliant.
The Holly Hop Drum.
So that was the first episode. So we'll see you all next week.
Wow.
No. So we other things we need to probably mention is just how little money, and we've talked about this before, but how little money that they had for this. That Norman Lovett was jumping at the bit to come and work on it, and they basically looked at it and went a few times and were like, "Okay, we'll get back to you." And he kept banging on the door saying, "Are you going to have me a part?" And they looked at it and went, "We can't afford it. Just can't afford you." They couldn't have any studio audience because it would mean rehearsal times, and rehearsal time would cost money, so they couldn't do that. They had people who were doing work and in exchange for signing of the scripts, so they could do that. And Robert Turnbull has said that they were doing overtime and getting beer and pizza at some point as well.
Yeah.
So Robert Turnbull of what's the podcast called? You've been watching. Yeah. So I was speaking to him today. So
apparently he's actually in this somewhere.
He is. He's on the escalator, and he's in he is in the deleted scene, the deleted bunk scene in the shop, where he actually walks directly past them as they're in the bunk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. For longer term listeners, Robert Turnbull is the co-host alongside Tony Black, who's on the British Empire episodes. So and he's credited as a producer in this on this, isn't he? Yeah.
There were also some of the visual effects guys were working completely for free.
Yeah,
apparently the person that did the Scutter just did it for the love of the show. Is what I have read.
It's a strange thing, isn't it, that Dave were like, we're going to bring back Red Dwarf, but we're going to give him absolutely bog all to do it with.
Yeah.
How long had Dave been going on at this point?
Not long.
No,
it can't have been. They probably just couldn't afford. I think because they probably had the money to, when they come to 10, 11, and 12. They probably had a bit more success at that point and found their niche. So they probably could afford. So they could afford to do what they could do with 10, 11, and 12. But they probably, because it was just so new, they were just
commissioning, panel shows at this point. They hadn't.
I was going to say, was this the sort of the first spark of them doing original programming?
Yeah. This was the first thing they put together,
Yeah.
I think it was actually the first one, wasn't it? Yeah.
So Dave Dave became Dave in October 2007.
Oh, right.
That's less than 2 years earlier. But obviously it had been on various names before that. Like it was part of the UK TV.
Yeah, UK Gold, and it was UK TV.
Oh God, yeah, it was UK Gold.
Kinds, yeah.
Didn't they rename it Dave because it got to the point where it was like UK TV Gold 2+1?
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, so former on the Wikipedia page, former names: UK Gold Classics from 98 to 99, UK Gold 2 from 99 to 2003, UK Gold Squared, 2003 to 2004.
Squared.
Yeah, it's UK G Squared, yeah.
G Squared, yeah. UK TV G2, 2004 to 2007.
Which that's just someone's number plate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I thought it was just a new channel that they called Dave.
No, it was all part of the UK TV network. So there was so many different. There was quite a few in the network. Like I'd say, like UK Gold +1 and whatever, and it just got renamed to Dave. So
Is UK Gold still even going as UK Gold?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, they could just call Gold, aren't they? Because there's Gold, Dave. Is it Very?
Yesterday,
that's
Watch,
it.
Drama. So yeah, because I signed up to this kind of TV survey thing where like occasionally they'll say, "Oh, spend 15 minutes doing this survey. We'll give you a £2 Amazon voucher," and they're all questions to do with: do you watch Dave? Do you watch Drama? Do you watch Yesterday? Do you watch?
And if you go on the UK TV player, which is a pretty decent service because it's got all of their channels on, hasn't it?
apart from when they omit absolute key information in Red Dwarf episodes, but let's not go into that. Just miss out entire like sort of conversations and then have the third act where they're referring back to it and you're going, what? What are they talking about?
I'd forgotten about that. You clearly haven't.
Can you not see the veins starting to slowly throb on his forehead? Yeah.
Anyway, should we dive into this then? Do we think we'll no doubt talk about some more stuff as we go along, but let's do this. So this was written and directed by Doug Naylor, and the episodes themselves, original release was between the 10th and the 12th of April 2009. We start off with no explanation for Rimmer. First off, let's talk about that first. There's no information. Me and Matt obviously know some things in the future, but no explanation of 8 Rimmer. And it's 9 years in the future. So 9 years later is what they actually say. So
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
It's gently suggested that in the timeline of these characters that we are seeing, there was a Red Dwarf 9 and a Red Dwarf 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously the Rimmer thing becoming a hologram again and Kachansky, in inverted commas, dying happened during those two series.
Yeah.
Is that retcons in the Future Day series?
No.
So technically...
But you've got to remember as well, it was a hallucinated dream.
Yeah.
Inside, because the squid had done that. So I would have the same argument in 2009 to 2000 and say thing on, but until we get to this kind of element, it's like, well, if you think about it, Red Dwarf doesn't really exist, but they were like a thing on that, but no, the number is exactly the same as what it is, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
Right. I'm confused.
So this is classed as, a lot of people class this as 9.
Yeah. But it's like the end of 9.
I think this kind of refers to the 9 years later gap as having like the event, like our universes kind of refer to them as 9 and 10.
Yeah.
Whereas it's just more or less just a time jump, which explains why they're slightly older.
And do they ever explain where everybody else went? Where's Hollister and all the other crew, and indeed Holly? Do they explain that?
Are we going to have questioning mark for the next 3 seasons? Or
God,
yes.
Did they ever do this?
I think, Matt, we need to find out as we get there, mate.
Oh, fuck off!
Hey, you're almost there now. You're almost there.
Bored of this bollocks.
The quicker you can get that drinking night organised, the quicker you can watch it.
I'm going to watch the fucking lot. I'm done. I'm watching them all.
You're under contract, mate.
You're under oath.
So we can forgive the bad CGI, but it is bad CGI.
Well, during the commentary, the stuff with the squid is actually old black and white stock footage that they coloured in, according to Rob Naylor.
With crayons.
So it's not even new CGI. It's stock footage that's cut out and coloured in. So shit.
I think though, as it opens up, I think the opportunities that 2009 gives to Red Dwarf as opposed to 1998 is apparent, where they seem to blow the budget in the first shot because you have that slow tracking in, and again I think it was an excuse just to do it for the technical ability of having seen Lister walk across this corridor through the windows and carrying on to pan across to the bunk where you see Rimmer, and I think that's I do appreciate that's a quite good shot. I mean, the CGI background that Craig Charles has to kick, he
stomps. He doesn't kick.
It's like the CGI that's a bit iffy, but I do appreciate them trying. I think it's the experimentation of what they can do with the money and stuff, and you'll see that kind of attempt to try and use modern technology. Well, back then, what was modern technology to kind of give a better idea of the vastness of the ship. Yeah.
I think we will be going light on that because, as I say, they've had no money. So at the end of the day, it's not. We're kicking it because it's, the fact that it's just there to be kicked. But at the same time, we, like we said at the beginning, BBC had a little bit of money. They were doing it on Victoria Wood, money, but here they've got next to nothing. And as you say, with like the pizzas and beer and doing favours and people not getting paid and all that type of thing, you can totally understand why. I did like the sound design though, going into it as well. I thought the sound design was good. It was kind of muffled when they were outside and it went through the window and stuff. Did you see some of the stuff that was in the quarters? What do you think to the stuff that was actually physically in the quarters?
That's my note for this episode. The set dressing was fucking brilliant. The attention to detail they'd got around the bunks it was nearly all based on the books. If you read the description of Rimmer and Lister's bunks in the book, they had word for word got, Rimmer's like newspaper cuttings, like Rimmer does it best and that kind of thing, that was about a completely different Rimmer, but he'd seen it in the paper, so he cut it out anyway. And put it there. And you've got there's a bit just before that where Lister's walking down the corridor that you get some leopard lager. Yeah, there's loads of little details put in there for the fans, and what it really reminded me of is the level of detail, and it's only in these first couple of scenes, unfortunately. But it's the level of detail that you get in the Harry Potter films. The Harry Potter studio tour, there's loads of sort of displays of some, they made stuff like Quidditch programs and stuff where they typed an actual like newspaper out. Yeah. And it's that level of detail that they went into. Like Rimmer is reading a Astronavigation for Idiots book, which is based on the For Dummies series.
Yeah. I want to question that, because funnily enough, did I mention I've got another podcast about Chucky? But in Bride of Chucky, they use Voodoo for Dummies, which obviously doesn't exist, but they use the For Dummies brand. Do you think it's a budgetary thing that they simply couldn't afford to do it? Or do you think that it was a deliberate satire?
I think satire.
I think it could be a bit of both. I think they could have assumed that if they put For Dummies on there is copyright implications on there.
Yeah. But everybody recognises that font and that yellow and black banner layout. Yeah. The thing I noticed as well is and I'm sure that in 7 they definitely did this, is you actually had a reverse shot. So you saw Lister walk in and then you saw over Rimmer's shoulder looking back at Lister. So you got the full 360 of the actual bunks. Right. I liked that because I'm sure they've done it before, but it just felt more real.
Like a room, more like a room and less like a set.
Yeah, you could feel it was a room. There were a couple of moments, like I said, the set dressing's great. There's a couple of moments where you see a close-up of like a panel and it's blatantly painted on. to look like lights, but there's no actual light coming out of it.
Is that like the Star Trek style thing where it's got a malfunction mainframe unable to reboot?
Yeah,
that's right in there, which I think is new for this.
Yeah,
This whole scene, the commentary again. So I watched the director's cut. Then I watched each of the 3 episodes. Then I went back and watched the director's cut commentary with with Doug Naylor. And then I watched the commentaries with the actors on. Fucking hell. I'm not going to watch this again for a while. But the Doug Naylor thing, he said that he insisted, despite having a tiny budget, on making this a 4-sided set, which is actually very, very unusual.
Yeah.
Normally they'd only have 3, and Red Dwarf had never had 4 before, but he really wanted this bunk to be special. So I think it's great that you spotted that, Colin.
Yeah. Well, I suppose also that was something that they could have with the fact that they weren't having a studio audience.
Yeah, they couldn't afford it.
Yeah, exactly.
But if they'd afford it.
But it could well have been right. Fine, if we can't afford a studio audience, I'm going to afford another wall.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why he kind of went towards the Series 7 style of comedy drama rather than just the Series 8 again? So we thought, okay, there's no studio audience, let's have another crack at what I wanted to do in 7.
I just think that he's naturally has an inclination to want to do that.
Yeah. I think so too.
Because the books are like that.
Yeah, I wondered in this as well, because there is a shot where, again, it shows the reverse. You see over Rimmer and a Scutter's shoulder, but it's handheld, and it's very obvious it's handheld because it's not a smooth shot. I was like, oh, maybe they're going for a different visual style, and none of the rest of it is like that at all. So it's blatantly like, it wasn't the steadiest shot, Doug. Bugger it. Haven't got time or money. Keep going. Just go.
Do you know who played the Scutter?
No.
So when they actually shot it, it was Danny John Jules with a blue sock on his hand. And then they digitally removed that later on and then put the CGI Scutter in.
I think that's one of the things I hate the most about Back to Earth is
that they
the
let
CGI
Scutters.
No, that they CGI the Scutters.
Yeah.
They were so charming as models, and it really felt like they just sucked the life out of them with this terrible CGI. And I feel bad for saying that, because if it was done for free, thank you. At least we got some Red Dwarf. But it really, really, I think I can forgive it not being funny, but I don't think I can forgive CGI Scutters.
The thing is, the cast probably were much happier with there being CGI Scutters because they weren't malfunctioning and whacking them in the bollocks.
Well, I don't know. If Danny John Jules was playing the hand, and they might still get whacked in the bollocks.
Fair point.
I was going to say,
actually, if it was Craig Charles, that'd be even more so.
Well, they, again, going back to the commentary, they had a 14-day schedule. They practically couldn't have actually used model Scutters because of that problem with the malfunctions. They wouldn't have had the time, like Carl was saying about that shot that was wobbly. They wouldn't have had the time to risk it on Scutters.
Yeah.
In many ways, this is the production. Well, the production of it is just a bit higher level than a fan film, in that you've only got 14 days. There's no money. We can barely do a second take. It's and you see this in the making of, and in some of the outtakes. They are doing what they did in 8 as well, which is they resort to like 1940s filming techniques with we see at we'll get to it, but we see whenever they're walking across a corridor with doors, it's actually a little cardboard thing near the camera.
Yeah. That is another thing actually I was going to mention at the top of the hour. Things like that I remember originally from the airing, because the special was done after the episode. So you could watch the special. So I remember that whole cardboard thing, creating the corridor, which is the final shot of the end of the 3 episodes, and them just talking about how they made that elongated corridor and they put this in, and it's all perspective and things like that. So that is something I do remember actually at the time as part of it.
Yeah, I remember that.
I wasn't aware of that, and that is really cool.
Yeah,
I like sort of that kind of trick. It's way more interesting than we did it on a computer.
Yeah, so it's in.
Apart from when it spuds in a certain episode called Pete, but we won't talk about that.
It's like the first time I remember them doing something like that was in 8, where they had the flashback where they're robbing the lockers.
Yeah.
And the fire shoots out, and that's I've always remembered the name of this, Pepper's Ghost, because it's all done with glass. And just somebody on their production team must have got the My Big Book of sneaky 1940s film tricks.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, Doug, we've got no money, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to cheat, but in a very creative way.
I've done Pepper's Ghost.
Have you?
Yeah, at Tamworth Castle at Halloween years ago. I got roped into being one of the ghosts.
Nice.
Which was awesome. Because for most of the night, there were various different tours coming around. Most of the night, I had to just sort of stand there in this room where there were like reflections and lights set up so that they could see like a see-through version of me wearing like a medieval costume type thing. But then later on, for the last tour, we didn't have to stay in our position, so we could sort of sneak around the castle through the secret tunnels, which was awesome. And the long gallery is the room that's supposedly the one that is actually haunted, not the haunted bedroom, because that's bollocks. And we were all in there, and there was this a woman that was also being one of the ghosts on the tour, and she just started sort of whimpering, and this one dude, massive guy, was so scared that he refused to come back into the castle at the end for like mince pies and drinks and stuff. He was terrified.
Amazing.
Right.
Okay, so we've barely got 3 minutes into the episode.
Yep.
What time
Do you know
is
what
it?
we didn't do, Kurt?
What?
We didn't do the credits.
They were awful, Mark.
Yeah, we're not going to do the credits on this one.
Well, I think they were always going to be crap, weren't they? Because they basically
We need to do something for the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll save it for then.
Oh, okay, fine.
You don't know there's a method in my madness, Mark. There's a method in my madness.
Is there?
There was a UFO and alien encounters book on there as well, by the way, just so we know.
Yes.
So the Crichton's going off on holiday. He's gone to V Deck Broom Cupboard, and he has a "Wish You Were Here" card.
I've done this gag before, and it wasn't great then.
So Matt seemed to like it. I didn't chuckle.
Yeah.
I don't. There's a particular moment when I chuckle, and the entirety of the episode, and there's one bit where I chuckle, and I'll get to that point when I get there.
Yeah, for me, there's one moment where I laugh out loud, and that's it throughout the whole show. I do chuckle at the line, "Oh, he's taking his feet off." I thought that was a good line.
Matt, did I find this scene funny then, or?
I like the idea, the concept of him going to spend a holiday in the broom cupboard,
right,
or a broom cupboard stuff. But I think
all I could keep thinking was Andy Peters.
Yeah.
But I think
Philip Schofield, Gordon the Gopher.
But I do think it was quite funny.
The duck.
It was probably a missed opportunity to kind of emphasise how big the ship is. Like, he goes, he's gone to a broom cupboard that's like several miles up the ship, because they're usually in the same location, aren't they? It's quite rare they go to other parts of the ship. That's the only drawback from that. But I don't know. I always would like the idea that Crichton's idea of a holiday is
going to a
capsule hotel.
Well, yeah, but they've already done that gag with Rimmer, haven't they? When he went hiking in the something deck, and
diesel decks.
Yeah.
But that was like traversing parts of the ship they haven't done. This is like physically like Crichton's idea of a good holiday is standing. It's like standing in like a cupboard. It's Bender in Futurama, where he lives in the.
I think as well, it kind of ties into what we've seen in the last couple of series of Crichton becoming more and more human, for lack of a better term, in that he's willingly gone on holiday. And when we see him come back, he's had a great time, and he's singing songs and this, that, and the other. He's become more human over the 9 years that have passed, to the point where he's like, well, I'm going to take a holiday.
But I mean, also it does kind of pay off in terms of kind of Rimmer's for Rimmer later on in the scene with I can't remember what her name is, when he gets challenged. Caterina, where he gets challenged about why is the Met going on holiday? Why have you let the Met go on holiday? So it does kind of set up that to kind of add ammunition against Rimmer later on, and I do kind of appreciate that kind of structure that was used.
I appreciate it. It's shit, but I appreciate it.
Wow.
I don't like this episode. And then the tomato joke.
The tomato joke shit, but it plays into something to me that I didn't realize until watching it again for this. Kachansky left him, and it's because he's going to such great lengths to do really crap stuff like this to Rimmer. When she's gone because she can't bear watching Lister's so happy with himself for doing this, and she blatantly could not bear watching it anymore. And that's one. And it only dawned on me today. I was like, that's why she left him, because he's so used to just winding up Rimmer. That's been his life for so many years that he's never going to change. And now it's got to the point where it's almost desperate that he's gone 200 floors to go get a single tomato.
Yeah.
And I did like some of the on the second watch when you did see him winding up. I didn't see some of the micro expressions that Lister was doing when it was before he's kind of he was throwing the tomato in the air, but when he gets into the room, there's just these little microcosms of like him smiling and saying, "I'm going to get him," kind of thing. Really kind of, and talking about which we will get to in a second. But he's obviously, and again on top of that, he's actually ironing the suit that he's going to go and see Kachansky in. Yeah. In the memorial. So I did appreciate it. I just the gag didn't land.
Oh, it's a terrible gag.
Yeah.
It's disgusting as well when you see him sneeze onto the thing and you see something actually, it's gross.
So as I say, this comes to the point of the whole concept of this scene of him sort of doing his stuff, and that he goes to the memorial, which that is a lovely part of the ship. Out of everything out of this episode, I think that really kind of threw me back to Thanks for the Memory.
I wrote down that this was the only good CGI in my notes. That the
background
worked.
bit on it,
yeah, this worked. The Scutters did not. A lot of the other CGI was painful, but this actually worked. I don't know whether they got lucky or whether they actively invested the most in this because it was such a sensitive scene. Either way, it mattered, and I think it would have damaged the scene if it had been ropey.
Yeah,
as like a background because it was so emotional.
I thought it was a matte painting.
Yeah, but I think it probably is.
No, I didn't see any paintings of Matt.
No.
In space, it's just large.
Just holding like a placard saying "Thanks for the memory."
Yeah.
Yeah, with another one saying, "It's the best episode."
Did you see the picture? So obviously you've got the memorial, which is like sort of the gravestone with the photos around it. Did you see who the photo next to Chloe Annette was?
It's Mel Bibby.
Yeah, they confirmed that in the commentary.
That's a beautiful thing that they did that.
Yeah. But the thing that is, I recognise that, and then I was like, who's the third one that's kind of just half in shot?
Yeah, couldn't find that out.
No.
Yeah, it goes,
that's not in the commentary.
Yeah. No. So the question I've got to ask is, like, could they just not be asked to put every other member of the crew after Rimmer killed them all?
Again,
I'd need a lot of photos.
Well, I don't know, because this is going out after, this will be going out after season 8, won't it?
No, it's going out before
season 9.
Just checking.
Don't spoil season 8, Carl.
No. There is the alternate ending to season 8 where the crew do escape.
We found that out, didn't we, Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you haven't heard it. But
all right.
I basically talked about the alternative ending, and Mark gave me this blank look. So we ended up actually sharing a YouTube video and watching it on the podcast.
Live.
Amazing.
I like the idea that they did all escape and they've gone off somewhere else. And a part of me thinks that they've thought about that in the, if we do ever need to bring Mac McDonald back.
Yeah,
because
we can.
They probably do want to one more time. We can. So let's not say what's happened to the crew. Maybe kill off, Chen or someone like that. But
Chen.
Then again, though, I mean, this is where I think a retcon's kicked in, and they're just going to forget about what happened to the crew, because one of the kind of thing. Well, you can probably retcon it again by the fact that she didn't exist. But you got Katarina saying like, "Oh yeah, you failed in repopulating Earth because humans are listed the last human." We're thinking, well, he's not now.
Yeah, there's people in the universe that have escaped to the escape pods. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it all turns out to be a hallucination. I don't think the retcon...
But on 8, they did all escape.
Yeah.
Well, in Only the Good, they did all go out in escape pods, and it was only Rimmer and Floor 13, effectively, that were left. So they all are in the universe.
There's the spin-off. That's why Rob Grant wanted back in. No, we're going to have Hollister, the series. Just called Hollister.
I'd watch that.
Picard, well, it's like Star Trek Picard, but with Hollister.
I think it's gonna be more like Predator. He lands on a planet with some alien menace. It'll just be a one-off, and it's Mac McDonald versus this alien killing machine. And he's completely no idea how to do it.
Big finish, if you're listening.
Yeah.
Sake.
But yeah, but we are skirting around. This is the best part of this episode. Bar
oh yeah.
I know it'll feed in. We talked about the threads earlier, but it's great acting. It's just wonderfully lit. It's has just an emotional punch to it, and just the fact, even like the little quips of like the Austin thing, Austin, Austin. Hope there's a car crash in this kind of thing. And I just thought it was beautifully done. I think this, by far, out of everything in this episode, this was is the best part of this episode.
Yeah. There's no menthol under the eyes for Craig Charles. He can cry on command when he wants to. It's really good.
Yeah, he's fantastic in this scene, definitely.
Part of me thinks like he read it and he was like, right, it's going to be shit, but I'm going to make it good shit.
And that's the thing. That I think this is the one thing I've come away from watching this episode, watching for Back to Earth in total, is and goes to Matt's point about Promised Land when we do get there, is and I've talked about this swing between comedy drama and comedy and drama and everything else that's going on in between, is that this is its own little thing, and it's not really Red Dwarf, and I think that's kind of the thing that I kind of struggle a little bit with.
It's not very good.
Well, no, I just think it is its own thing. It's trying to do something different, which I really do. I think, to get the balls to like say you've got your show back and to do something like this as a piece, I think is a challenge for him to do. But it's a risky one.
It's a serial, or that it's an homage to Blade Runner?
No, more of just the whole comedy drama aspect, because he keeps wanting to direct himself down to this comedy drama route.
Yeah.
It does make me watching it again today. Did make me feel like I kind of wish they stayed more serious all the way through with the occasional gag, rather than obviously when we get to Coronation Street, it's going to be a bit weirder. But if we stayed on that more serious, like dramatic humor rather than like sitcom humor, if you know what I mean, I think this would be a lot better.
It sort of doesn't know what it wants to be, isn't it?
Yeah. That's probably where I'm coming from. Yeah, it has the emotional aspect of it. Like it's got the as I say, the through line of Lister, and it's got the kind of the story elements, but it's then split into 3, and it's not the hour special that it's supposed to be, and it doesn't. As I say, it's not really pegged into where it needs to be. Had it come out as a special, brand new special, and it's completely different, and people have gone, wow, they've completely changed this, and it looks like this, and they've done this, and it's more of a comedy drama rather than actually a drama that's got comedy in it, then I think it might have played a little bit. Again, you still would have had problems with it, but at the same time, I think you hit the nail on the head there with the fact that it is that kind of thing. It wants to be two things, and it can't be. It can't be. It's got to be one thing or another.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of summed up as well by the way this scene ends, which is Lister starts crying. You see what you think are teardrops falling on the book, and it's not. It's the cat.
Yeah,
yeah. The thing that gets me is you see that wide shot of how big that area is, and the cat falls in from somewhere. He fell from a distance.
Yeah, I don't get where the fuck he came from because
he's like a cat, so he'll land on his feet.
Yeah. Before we go away from the memorial section, though, we were just saying who was the third picture.
Yeah.
I just realised I have actually got that in my notes. It's George McIntyre from the first episode.
Oh yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah. Bye, George.
Good.
That's quite interesting then. That if all through this, only 3 people, 4 if you count Rimmer, have died.
Yes.
During any of it. Yeah.
Oh well, giving him memorial. I suppose George McIntyre because, well, I suppose it would have been memorialised. Then the crew died, and they did sod all with it.
There were too many people to.
And then they've gone, all right, okay. So Chloe and obviously Crichton's aspect to it. But the cat falling out. Yeah, I think I see what you mean. If it hadn't been that cat like breaking into it, it would have probably played out a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because it is jarring, and I hate to say it, I just didn't like the whole cat thing. Didn't like it.
The thing that I got from it was, even though his hair's all messed up and everything like that, my God, Danny John-Jules does not age.
It does feel like the cat is very, very classic series catty in this.
Yeah.
And I think across the board, all the characters are a little bit devolved from Series 7 and Series 8. And I think that was deliberate.
It's a soft reboot job again, isn't it?
It feels like it. So. But the cat's with his suits and with the owl and all that, he's classic cat. And again, I adore classic cat, so I've got no issue with the devolution, really.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see that. It's always fun to see that. And some of the suits in this were so good and so fun and so silly. And I like the cat, so I was happy with that.
You could tell Howard Burden's back. I mean, like Lister's half tuxedo, anything the cat wears throughout any of this. The only black mark on it is, and I could not shake this for the whole thing, Rimmer's waistband. Right? I hate it, and I don't know what it is. If it's a thing of Chris Barry felt uncomfortable and wanted something to make him look trimmer, it makes him look really like it's really uncomfortable to me. And he'd probably look better if he just hadn't got it on at all. I just from watching it again, it's like, I hate that outfit. It's very odd why they couldn't have gone with, the duvet jacket or something like that. And because it's that soft reboot again, I actually forgot that blue meant hard light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a confusing moment of he's getting the Scutter to put the picture up, but he catches the tentacle.
Yeah. I had not thought of that.
Yeah.
Perhaps he just couldn't be asked to put the picture up.
Yeah.
He was doing the level, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the testicle shoots out the water.
That wasn't funny.
This is the moment I laughed out loud.
Wasn't funny.
Before we continue,
the one moment was the testicle gag, Carl.
Mine's worse. Mine is worse.
It's Chris Barry's delivery of "I hope so." That's what made me laugh out loud. But in this, I do feel Chris Barry is almost in Britus mode.
Yeah.
I don't feel it's his best performance, and I can see the look on Matt's face that I brought up Britus. But that for me is the only bit where I laughed out loud, is his intonation on "I hope so." And now I'm going to stand back and let Matt tell me how wrong I am.
I'm gonna let you finish, but yeah.
Wow.
Meanwhile, I just as you was all talking for the last 5 minutes, I ended up doing some internet research because I had the the video playing on one of my monitors, I noticed that the Astro Navigation for Idiots book had a quick close-up of it, and it looks like something like the Argus catalogue. I found out which Argus catalogue it is.
What, the 2008, 2009 Argos catalogue?
The spring-summer one.
The spring-summer one.
Yeah, I've just sent on the Facebook Messenger group chat a picture of the...
Oh, my God.
And I know it's exactly that because all the colours on the spine match.
Okay, so we've got a toaster that's relevant. We've got a ring, a washing machine, a chair with some towels on it. And is that Lego? No,
I like Lego.
Yeah.
Make Lego. The Essential Book of Value.
Laminated Book of Dreams.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then
so
they say about the dry clean only.
Oh, it's weird because it's almost like it'd be better, but then, as like Mark said, he's devolved into early cat. So he just starts talking, and then he almost like as a tick goes into, because I'm wearing dry clean only. You know, it almost, it's like we know that's probably going to be the thing. And I don't know whether they feel it's like almost like a greatest hits thing, or this is the only chance they've got, so they want to make a joke like that, but it's just not landing.
No, it's the only thing that got me to smile, like as in like a little, was when it says it didn't say it didn't leave a note. That was the only bit that I was like, actually, you know, and it wasn't even a laugh. It was just more of a kind of a little twitch as such. And then Crichton appears.
Oh, anyway, Crichton shows up.
Crichton shows up, wanting someone to pummel his diodes.
Well, before that, he's singing Madonna. I do like that he gets greeted by surf boys back from Broomtown.
It's just awful.
I don't know. I do like the sticker on his suitcase where it's got "I love the broom colours."
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah,
but isn't that just a testament to like you were saying about how deep the cuts are? That the cuts are actually more funny than the actual dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, you know what I mean? It's just like we're reaching out to find something.
I like the idea that the broom cupboard's got a gift shop.
I know, and I do think this is probably, for a good while, the best the Crichton head looks. I do quite like how the Crichton head looks. Ask me about.
Very interesting that his eyes have clearly aged. When he's a mechanic, he's got wrinkly eyes.
I can't remember which series it is, but it looks all right here, but the nose goes off a cliff.
It's 10.
It's 10. There's
a scene.
I'm not a fan of.
There's a scene in Trojan, and obviously it's like it's just the amount of water, and you'll see it where. At one point you see him and you can see the eyes and you can see like sort of the actual inner eyelids of him, but then it comes back to him and there must be like tons of water underneath his eyelids, and it looks horrific. You've just got to like just not look at it because it completely takes you out the game completely. Yeah, which is a shame.
I know it gets better, but because I got the DVD the other day. It's 10. It's 10 for some reason. The mask takes a nosedive.
Literally the nosedive.
No.
But but I do kind of appreciate how it's like a kind of it's what you imagine Crichton to look like, but then when you see him in series 3, it looks weird. Yeah, because you're so used to how he kind of morphs into, and it's kind of like a nice kind of polished version of the mask. Yeah. So I do one of the highlights of this, I think, is just how good the mask looks in this. I think again it must be where the money was spent.
Rimmer starts to talk about the plan and that he's get the diving suits, get the blasters, etc., and obviously he's not going to go and do it. And this is where you think this is older Rimmer, not new Rimmer, because this feels like something. This is like the closest we've got to further development, where previously younger Rimmer, Which Rimmer are we talking about? Which version?
many
on the
Rimmers.
chart. Which chart are we looking at?
1 to 6 at least.
Okay.
1 to 7 at least. Where you kind of see where this is post out of time Rimmer, where he's suddenly had a bit of a break, where he's kind of feels slightly braver. So where he's starting to kind of take command and say, we need to do this, and this. So this is kind of like series 1 Rimmer wouldn't have done this. No. Whereas like Back to Earth, series 9 Rimmer, feels like he's doing this, but then the joke kind of kicks back in where it's like, we're doing this, and this, and I'm sitting here while you do it all, which I think is kind of like, it tracks the character, but still feels like it's paying homage to where he is now.
Yeah,
as a character, so you can kind of like the out of time incident where he's kind of like brave, tries to affect him stuff, or his time as Ice Rimmer. It's kind of made him that.
It does kind of go into the thing we've said in previous series of good things can happen to Rimmer, but despite himself, he will find a way to be Rimmer.
Yeah.
So
yes.
If this is the Rimmer that went off to be Ace and came back or what have you, because I think that was said at one point by Doug Neal, it was like, this is original Rimmer come back.
Yeah.
Then he's, over this course of the 9 years, all the bravery and good traits of him have weaseled away to be a distilled Rimmer.
I can perhaps envision the he goes, what exactly did you do? He goes, well, I went off and I just I had one adventure, saw some people with guns, I ran off and I just stayed in a cabin for 600 years or something stupid like that. Or something like he had one go at it and then just sod it and then decided to pawn it off on another Rimmer. That's my headcanon. That's my headcanon on what's happened. So it kind of doesn't negate him agreeing to do it, but then it kind of he does show the bravery, but then realizing how much work and effort it will take, he went to smeg this and then just bug it off, bug it back again.
Yeah, definitely.
There is a lovely moment. And it's down to Craig Charles's performance where once he threatens to eject the ship's stock of tuna into space and the cat's all friendly with him, he gives the cat this lovely, friendly, no, go on, look. They've that really was almost like a proper true friendship smile between them. And it's almost like, that's not Lister, that's Craig Charles.
Well, the bit where he asks for a classic car magazine.
That's Chris Barry.
Chris Barry.
Yeah, definitely.
It's probably one from his car. His classic car that's parked in the car park.
Yeah. Crichton says he needs to start packing, but then realised he's already packed.
Yep.
Lol. I'm not sure throwing any shade on this episode, am I? And we're going to the diving bell. So
I liked how the diving bell looked. I thought it was a nice little enclosed set. And I've got it on in the background here. We've spoken about how nearly all of the cat's outfits are so spot on. And I know Mark's pictured himself wearing this lilac shiny jumpsuit.
Magnificent.
But Lister's Mad Max-esque fatigues sort of thing that he's got on look great. And Crichton's got armbands.
That made me smile.
Yeah.
That visual gag was actually
the
funny.
armbands.
Yeah. That's actually funny.
I agree I made a note on that. I thought it was quite funny.
But again, I think going back to how the Red Dwarf has always been a mess with continuity, and Doug Naylor is supposed to be the continuity guy. Crichton isn't waterproof and he gets wet. It's like in
he's wearing armbands though.
When he gets wet. And, that gag was funny, but also annoying because there's retcons. Clearly retcons. Maybe you get protective coating on your glasses. Maybe they've put a protective coating on
Crichton.
On the Crichton.
They vac formed him before they went down.
No, that would be funny if that ever turned up in an episode, wouldn't it? Where the vacuum formed Crichton to waterproof him. Oh man,
this went on too long. I felt.
Yeah.
It really did. Yeah.
This episode of the podcast.
No. The
well, yeah, that too.
This scene just went on way too long.
I think that's a problem for the whole 3 episodes because they were only supposed to have 2. There is some stuff that's clearly filler and stretchy and elongated that they could have tightened up.
This is very much similar to the dance in Back to Red.
No, that was perfect. That was the best thing of the entirety of Series 8. Loved that dance.
You can see as well in the monitors behind Rimmer that the same shot is going forwards and then it reverses and then goes back again. So yeah, you could tell that they told Chris Barry to just dance and and they'll cut it down. And then they've gone, actually, if we just put the whole thing in, we haven't got enough footage to put in the background. We'll loop it. Yeah.
I didn't like the Rimmer going, too scared, can't move.
Yeah.
I thought, it's like, oh, wait, whatever. I wasn't fond of that. What did you think to the tentacles then?
I liked them.
Yeah.
What?
The tentacles.
It was proper. Yeah. It was proper practical. Voyage to the bottom of the sea. I've said this before. When I worked at not the CGI bit of the tentacles where they first burst through, but the ones that are actually in the room.
Yeah.
The rubber ones. The rubber ones.
Oh, yeah, they're great. Yeah. I agree with that. I thought you were talking about the coloured in black and white footage, stock footage. But no, I agree. Yeah. I fully agree on that.
That's the thing. If you want a decent monster, yes, and you want somebody to act against it, throw a rubber thing at them.
Well, Robert Turnbull was the person that threw the rubber things at them.
Yeah.
Oh,
really?
No way.
Yeah. Hello, Rob.
Yeah, he sent me that today. Says, you know the scene with the tentacles? Yes. Yeah, it went. Yeah, I was the one controlling the tentacles.
Awesome.
Class.
I think some shots of them holding the rubber ones, and then they've put CGI over the top to make it look like there's more of them, isn't there?
Yeah. Why do they have Star Wars garbage compactor blaster shots in the sound design, and then they had bullets?
Yeah,
it
was clearly Star Wars samples.
Yeah, it like I say, it's the production value just above a fan film. I wouldn't be shocked if they edited it on DaVinci. It wouldn't have been out at the time, but free software.
Yeah,
it's. I've always talked about this when dealing with cinema and television. Is the more and more freely available things come, more and more things like fan films get really good. And even back then, there was some really good ones. I don't know if you ever remember the one where it's Batman versus Predator. One called Dead End, and it is really good. The costumes, the Predator costumes are spot on, and then aliens turn up in it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll send you the link afterwards. And there's another one called Grayson, which is a Robin fan film, and that was shot, I think, about 2005, and that looks great. And it's all done by cobbling it together by the seat of their pants. There's some really good stuff out there. At the film night I used to run, somebody made a Constantine fan film, and it was amazing. It was really, really good.
Cool. The only one I've really noticed and thought was good was a Judge Dredd one called Judge Minty. That's genuinely very good. That's free on YouTube, and it's like a 20-minute thing with a very, very small character from the Judge Dredd comics, and they just make this film based around him, and it's really, really good. And we looked at Charles, which is a child's play, fan film on Chucky Vision,
right?
And that was there.
It exists.
I mean, this whole. I mean, Star Trek's a big one for it. This whole Star Trek.
They've got Walter Koenig doing some of it, and Tim Russ was on some fan edit ones and stuff like that. So they get a lot of the stars on theirs. I'm not really into watching them personally, but but it is interesting that, as you say, the more that I'm using Reaper at the moment. They've got Resolve that I use for YouTube. And I just use it very, very simply, but the computer programming power's there to do whatever you want, really.
I use a lot of open source software, and there's no difference in some of it from the big stuff that you pay money for.
Well, GIMP is a perfect example. GIMP's a great program.
GIMP is great. Make that a soundbite.
Can you see what I did there?
If anybody out there is wanting
Psych.
a decent editor that's not DaVinci Resolve, there's one called KDen Live. It's fantastic. Absolutely brilliant.
Is it as good as GIMP?
Different type
That's
of
a
thing.
photo editor.
It is good. Yeah.
What I did like in this scene, though, is I do like the perspective that we get in where the camera is. They're looking up at the camera. I thought that was a good choice. But that's about it. And obviously, apart from our good friend Robert Turnbull.
That's some really good testicle throwing. I mean, tentacle throwing.
It just gets known for. We'll talk to him at our little event that we're having. We'll just go, how's your testicle throwing, mate?
Testicles
Unpained.
and tentacles. It all sounds like a good Friday night at Eagle Bar in Manchester.
Nice. I'm trying to think what was the rock bar called? I want to say
Rock Bar.
in Manchester. Was it Gillies?
Yeah,
Oh,
Jilly's
Gilly's
Rock
Rock World's been gone a long time, and that
Yeah.
was a fun. Why are we talking about Gilly's Rock World?
Because I was just thinking about a bar in Manchester I used to go to. There's that
And then
obviously,
Katerina turns up.
and then Fab Cafe, for example. But that's another.
Fab Cafe's still going.
I was in Nottingham the other day, and there was a sign for this closed shop unit, and it was just a very plain black and white sign, but it said Poultry Arcade. And I thought this was one of two things. One, a very brazen cockfighting place. Or two, the greatest gay bar you've ever been in your life. Oh, dear.
I think
Could
isn't
be
this
both.
Yeah. I'm trying
Could
to
be.
draw him back in. In the diving bell, isn't this one of the scenes where Craig Charles broke the set as well? I think that's in the documentary.
Probably.
Yeah, I think
He usually does.
I think it's better that the stuff that he hasn't broken, bro.
Yeah.
I mean-
I'm pretty sure this is in it. This is where he's broken stuff in this.
They were
particular.
asking for it. Craig, hold something and throw yourself around the room.
Craig, turn up.
Yeah.
Yeah, also true.
Yeah. We finished that scene. And what I like to talk about here is Lister's underlying, because we're going through Lister's story here. There's an underlying thing with getting fed up with Rimmer. Because he literally, he doesn't get that upset normally. I know it's a big issue, but he doesn't get that upset in previous episodes of the show, where he just seems to really not like that underlying pain of everything when he chucks the tentacle at him.
Yeah.
Again, it feels like what I was talking about earlier, the devolution of all of these characters, and their relationship has devolved as well.
Yeah, I mean they have to do that because they have to infect Rimmer. They have to infect him anyway, so they have to get that over to him. But I do feel that there was more to it in that it's more about Lister's what's happening with Lister rather than actually being thrown at Rimmer and making it a reflection of Rimmer. It's more about Lister's emotional frustrations. Yeah, and then we have Katerina Bartikovsky.
It's Big Suze.
It is.
Is it Lady
From Peep
Frederick Windsor?
Yes.
Yes. Married to the 52nd in the line of succession.
Oh, okay. I knew she was Big Suze.
Yes, she's sort of royalish.
Yeah. And also Claudia Winkleman's sister.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
With less stupid hair.
Wow.
No, whoa. Don't you mock Claudia Winkleman's hair, Colin.
I like Claudia Winkleman's hair, actually. Yeah, I'm with Matt.
Yeah.
I just find her the most annoying person on the telly.
What? She's great.
What?
She's very annoying.
To see Kurt going, no, I've lost control of this just in his eyes.
But
She's always lost control.
I don't get it. Claudia
Never had it.
Winkleman's great.
She's mega annoying.
She's a bit chalk and cheese. I'm on the Claudia Winkleman train though.
You're on the
I'm
Winkle
alright.
train.
Yeah, I'm on the Winkle train.
She made The Traitors even better than it was by being great. And The Traitors was already great.
I've not
but she
watched
was
it.
great, and she made it even more great.
I've not watched that yet. I still don't think I understand what it's about, but
Get The Traitors watched. It's fucking superb.
All I know is the American one's got Alan Cumming in it.
It has, and he makes it great.
Yeah.
They picked good hosts for both of those. They've renewed The Traitors in America. I don't know if they renewed it in the UK, but I want more Traitors. The Traitors was fucking great.
Coming soon on We Made This, The Traitors cast, hosted by Mark Adams.
No.
Find a special where he talks about Back to Earth with her sister.
You've done
I
less.
don't deserve
You've done more for less.
To be fair, the most recent episode of Chucky Vision was about Batteries Not Included, the children's film, because the original title for Child's Play was going to be Batteries Not Included until Batteries Not Included was released. And we used that as a fucking tenuous link to do a
tenuous motherfucker.
There's that Adams linkage that we all know and love.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember it being this happy film about these cute little spaceships. Oh no, it's a study in dementia.
Yeah.
Batteries Not Included is grim as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very good movie. Very good movie.
Yeah.
It is, but it shouldn't be for kids.
Anyway, Katerina turns up.
Katerina turns up. Result, you beauty. Anyway, moving on. Apparently 2 million gallons fell through the ship is what's happened in the previous 9 years. He's left the bath on.
Oh, actually, one of the gags you just missed is like, which I did kind of chuckle at, was when she was initially saying that she was the highest ranking in the ship, and they're not taking the commands over Rimmer, who's bit crap.
Now, I know, I was just about to say that because that is the one joke that I laughed at. The bit crap bit. I actually howled with laughter at that. I found that really funny. I've just put my note. It's just it's 2 lines down. I must have moved something around, but yeah, that's the one joke I found funny in the entire show.
Does unfortunately describe Back to Earth as well, isn't it?
It's a bit crap.
Big crap.
Yeah.
What I liked about the bit crap joke was that the prop was also a bit crap.
Yeah, I know. Could have just had bit crap.
Yeah, and it didn't even have an LCD screen. It was just a sticker.
Just a sticker, yeah.
So even the bit crap text was a bit crap.
That's why I like it. That's why I liked it, because it goes back to that Rimmer as an action figure.
Yeah.
Being thrown out of Starbucks.
It was actually a Sonin 10075 laser targeting rangefinder with the words "bit crap" superimposed on the display.
Yeah.
You are one sad individual.
Oh, are any of us married or in relationships?
That is what we're contending with. Wow. I'm so glad we're doing this as a
It's the nerdiest one that's got a successful relationship. It's really annoying.
I'm quite
I've
proud
had 2
of being
different boyfriends since we started this podcast, and now I haven't got one at all. Colin,
I'm quite
that
proud of being
fucking nerd. He's kept his missus. How's he managed that?
Mine's actually uploaded to the cloud.
Sorry, your girlfriend or your wife or...
Yeah, all of them.
I'm quite proud of being the nerdiest person on a fucking Red Dwarf podcast.
You
That's
win
an
hands
achievement.
down.
I mean, well, the thing is, it's all on a spectrum. I mean, you've got Matt looking at Argos catalogues.
That's true.
And
I did watch the commentaries. I can't really have people
Genuine hurt in Matt's This is the first of 3 episodes, isn't it?
Yeah, we're exactly actually in 4 seconds. We would have been going an hour and a half. So so we're doing all right.
These episodes are very short.
They are very short.
Yeah.
None of our episodes are short.
No, and we pride ourselves on that. When it comes to dragging it out, we drag it out the most on the We Made This podcast network.
and that's a guarantee.
Yeah.
And Tony said famously today on the Discord, I don't listen to all the podcasts. I went, yeah, you would have an absolute fit if you heard what we were doing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but he was talking. Yeah, but then he was talking about one that he bloody he show runs.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Anyway, and
Yeah.
Katerina turns up.
Well, he does show him, but I just like the fact that he in the past he's gone like, yeah, do you think that's really a format for the does it make any sense to do it on your podcast? I'm going, don't listen to any special. Don't listen to any special. Yeah.
Honestly.
I mean, we're doing a podcast on Jack Daniels because it's in my background.
Are we?
Yeah.
I don't like Jack Daniels.
Well, it's me drinking Jack Daniels all day. That's it. That's the podcast.
Do you know, I might go and get a bottle of wine for episode 2 and 3.
Fucking hell. Let's get on with it.
Yes, let's get on with it.
All right.
So Katerina is talking to Rimmer. He gives all the exposition about what's happened in the past 9 years, that the fact that Bath has been overfilling and 2 million gallons fell through the ship, that the place is a mess, as we mentioned before, about Crichton going on holiday, and she kind of pulls him up on that. Obviously, at this point, we are in the lucid dreaming kind of aspect of it, so we just need to bear that in mind.
So anyway, Queeg shows up.
Well, no, they couldn't afford him.
No, they couldn't afford Holly. Well, they could afford Holly, actually, but they fell out with Norman Lovett again. Doug Naylor said that on the fucking...
You see, that's not the story that was being bandied around. The story was they couldn't afford him.
No, they said they were originally going to have Holly, but he got cut. And Norman had a massive tantrum.
Yeah, well, that's what. Well, I suppose it's the same story, isn't it? Because he kept saying, "Are you going to put me in? Are you going to put me in? Are you going to put me in?" And then I went, "No, we haven't got the money."
Thing is, though, what would they have done with him? There's not a lot they could have done with him. I don't think, anyway. It's one of those things where, like when they cut Hattie Hayridge, when they said, well, basically she was showing up to do very little, and although in 8, Norman Lovett didn't do a great deal, if you kind of weigh it up. I think in this
he had the best jokes.
He did have the best jokes, but but I think in this he'd have probably turned twice. There would have been. I can't think of a way you could have put him in, especially once they went through to another dimension. Unless
they'd have had to put him on the telly trolley like you had at school in the first couple of series, wouldn't they?
Or the watch again.
I don't think Norman Lovett would have been okay with a cameo like that, though. No. I think, anyway.
So Queeg turns up. And, so the list, Rimmer's been given 24 hours to live, effectively, and he's going to get blown up by nuclear fission, apparently.
It's a bit extreme, isn't it? We're going to switch you off, then we're going to shoot you into space, then we're going to blow you. Oh, we're going to switch you off. We're going to erase everything about you. Then we're going to shoot you into space. Then we're going to blow you up with nuclear fusion.
It is a bit extreme. That is just like erasing everything off a USB hard drive, shooting a USB hard drive and firing it off in a clay pigeon.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes in with that thing of, obviously it's revealed at the end that this is a squid-induced hallucination, but this squid is supposed to influence Joy. This is another
Not Rimmer's Joy, though.
What's that?
This probably isn't Rimmer's Joy.
No, well,
this is Cat.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. Is like, even in this circumstance where he's supposed to feel joy and elation, Rimmer's mind gets him switched off, erased, thrown into space. Because I think
his brain can't contain it. It's just like he's been down this route before.
It does make me wonder who imagined Katerina. Did Lister? Well, obviously Matt did, but did Lister imagine them? Because initially when I first saw her, it was just like, oh, hello, she's got a very short, tight dress on with a boob window, for lack of a better term.
Boob window.
That's okay.
Boob window. I love it. That was a funnier gag than anything across all and back to Earth.
And she's got the accent, which is the very stereotypical, like, oh yes, I'm Russian spy accent. And
she's clearly a cat creation, isn't she?
I think so, yeah. But would he have imagined her as a hologram?
This is it. I think she's because she's a hologram. I think she would be something that Rimmer would have imagined. But Rimmer fucks up everything that he imagines. So that's why what he wants then destroys.
So that would then mean that Rimmer, underneath everything, would be wanting the best for Lister and wants Lister to repopulate the universe.
Or is
Quite
it that
possibly.
he's incapable of joy and therefore, like him back to reality, he fucks it up without even realizing it?
Yeah, it's that.
That's my thought on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's that.
And then we get the same. So, before I go into that, actually, there was the I hate her, and Lister's going, I like her a lot. I like her a lot. And this is my question for I think I'll ask this while I remember, but this, it almost feels to me this is almost like parking, apart from the very end. If you didn't have the Shining part of this episode, that this could be Lister finally moving on from Kachansky, but it doesn't do that. It kind of brings it right back to Kachansky. And I find that really risky because there was an opportunity there. There was an opportunity there for to move Lister in a different direction. And I'm surprised that he didn't go down that route.
But Kachansky and him wanting Kachansky is one of the major defining motivations for his character throughout the entire
I know, but I'm saying to change direction. That if they were going to do it, this is the opportunity to do that. To accept what's gone on, to accept that I can't get hit. I can't get hung up on this one woman for the rest of my life. I've got to move on. And I think that would have been dramatically.
She's in the line for the throne. This scene as well, it was something I thought I saw at the very beginning of the episode, and this made me happy to see that I was right, is the return of the space bike.
Yes.
Yeah. And using the wing mirror as a coaster.
Yes.
That joke I actually laughed at, the wing mirror. I did laugh. Like a little, but it was a laugh.
Yeah. The repeat, and I think it was you, Matt. Was it you that said this? Yes.
Yes.
The repeat, the joke that they had with Hollister last season. I know it's 10 years previously, and it's like, Ms. Rimmer, Ms. Oh, your breasts look lovely.
I despise this joke. I've said it. I said it during Pete, and then Kurt says, "Well, you got it coming up again in Back to Earth." I don't like. It's overworn. It's bit crap. It's a lot crap. It's a lot crap.
Bit crap. That's going to be my new phrase, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot crap.
It's definitely one of those gags that's just so overused and such a cliche and such a trope that I don't think it was ever funny.
Yeah.
I think it was funny in 1930 when it was first used in an American sitcom.
Yeah.
1950.
It's always going to be funny in farces. Like, if it's like in an actual farce, it's fine because it's the whole remit of the entire thing. But to do it out of context and just have it in one moment.
Thinking about it, I'm pretty sure when you mentioned farce, I can't remember something. I'm pretty sure that Fraser's done a couple of variations of it, but have probably used more physical comedy more than anything. If there's any sitcom that I really wish I could remember off my head, I've got a memory of perhaps Frasier doing something like this, but being Frasier, probably did it a lot more sophisticated and probably did a spin on it on the usual gag, I think.
Yeah,
but
that's what I mean, because obviously in a farce, it's the entire thing's hyper escalated. So but to do it out of context, where it's just like, oh, it's a little skit. It doesn't really work because it's like, all right, okay, you know what I mean. So whereas the farce would build up to it or be part of the build up, So I think that's the big difference there.
It's a weird thing in this. I don't know if anybody else noticed this, but in the close up of where Crichton's sort of hiding behind him, and then he does the engage innocent whistle mode. I noticed that Chris Barry's hair throughout this goes from looking quite good to completely messed up, and then back again. And it was.
Do you think they ran out of Bro cream?
Possibly, but there's bits where he looks like he's had his hair messed up in the next scene, but in this one he actually looks quite good. And it was at this point where I noticed how crap the H looks. And obviously it's been 10 years since the last one, but you thought maybe somewhere there'd be a H in a box that they could have reused. But I remember being slightly worried before this came out when they showed the promo picture, because it was not a flattering promo picture of them. Everybody looked quite, let's just say it, old. Everybody looked really quite old.
bit crap.
And a bit crap. But then when you actually see the show, they look way better than they did in the promo pictures. And that was kind of a relief. And then you watched it and it's like, and it's kind of got better as the show's gone on, as we'll see when we go further into the Dave era. But this was one of the things that really did put a bit of fear in me. The promo pictures came out. I was like, oh my God, everyone apart from Danny John Jules looks really bad.
Yeah. Okay, let's quickly move on because we need to wrap this up. So
yeah.
2 more to go.
2 months ago, we got this stupid fat ferrety face that Katerina says, and we get shown how intelligent she is or how she perceives to be, because it's obviously about the dimension jumping and things like that. And we get a J.J. Abrams montage of lens flares and stuff like that, which I thought was actually really well put together, if I'm being honest with you. I thought that the actual way it was done was really good. So I thought it was a good scene. And then we end up in the cargo bay again, where we get the episode.
A thing I've just noticed is Katerina reeling all that off. If she is Rimmer's creation, then that means Rimmer knows all that stuff. So he probably is smarter than he thinks, but he's just terrible at exams, which is what is also covered in the books. Is he's just crap at exams, but he actually knows this stuff because he's said it in this thing.
He just can't apply it to anything useful. Well, he's done the revision enough times that some of it should have embedded in his brain.
Yeah, and there is the use of the phrase bingo jingo, which I've never heard before, and I'd like to use again.
Bingo jingo. Yeah. Also, there's the bit where she's using the keyboard and then just puts her elbow across it, which I thought was quite cool.
I get the feeling that's something she came up with on the day. Like, just do something, Sophie. Will do. And
that's all I've got. I'm surprised I managed to get any of that, to be honest. I'm glad there was 5 of us. So, any final thoughts, chaps?
Yeah, we've got 2 more of these fuckers to do, and I'm already falling asleep.
I'm going to get some wine for the next 2. I'm definitely going to do
wine.
That. Wine.
Mark, what's your Twitter handle?
At Mark Adams HD.
Carl.
Mr. Carl.
Colin.
Mogwai Fierce Satan.
Matt.
At Bigger Disc.
Me, at R. Moldrake. That was a bit crap.
That's
it.
Crap.
Thanks. Bye.
Welcome to Make It So, a Star Trek Legacy podcast. Engage your warp cores and get ready to embark on a thrilling journey through the depths of the 24th and 25th centuries. Have some fun on the Cerritos. Join the Enterprise D crew. Take a trip with Star Trek Voyager. Take some lessons on the Protostar, or even relax on Deep Space Nine. With Make It So, we pay homage to the rich legacy of Star Trek, celebrating its enduring impact on popular culture and its profound influence on science fiction as a whole. We honour the vision of Gene Roddenberry and the countless writers, actors and creators who have brought this incredible universe to life. So join us as we navigate the cosmic expanse of the final frontier, engage in lively discussions, dissecting episodes, analysing characters, and sharing our love for everything Star Trek. Whether you are a lifelong fan or just beginning your voyage, this podcast is for you. It's time to embark on a journey where the stars are our guides, where the impossible becomes possible, and where the spirit of exploration knows no bounds. Welcome aboard Make It So, the Star Trek Legacy podcast that will transport you to new frontiers and ignite your passion for the future. Make it so. Shipwrecked and Comatose, a Red Dwarf podcast, was created and produced by Mark Adams and Kurt North. You can find us on Twitter at Red Dwarf Pod, and we are part of the We Made This Podcast network.